We really do appreciate being able to take part in the democratic process, and thanks to Glenn as well. He's had a lot of studies of the Constitution. It has, helped me a lot personally in my understanding of it as well. So, and thanks to everyone for coming out. I'm not going to shoot from the hip because I don't think anybody here really wants to hear that. So I'll just get right down to what I have written down. But thanks to other speakers as well. So the eyes of the nation are now focused on Iowa as they look for some guidance in the presidential election. And as everyone here, I'm sure, can agree, this election is very crucial in determining the future path of our country. We truly do live in historic times, and we are now at a crossroads. And it has a lot to do with the fact that our country has been kicking the can down the road for far too long. We are quickly approaching a point where if we don't deal with our financial realities, then it will destroy us. Our debt is currently at $15 trillion, which is equal to our GDP. And this probably doesn't mean a lot, to most of us, but many economists point to this as the point of no return. This is the moment where if we continue down this path, it becomes unsustainable. So 4 more years is not acceptable. It will be too late. If we go on for 4 more years, we can look at Greece, and that's the realities that we will face. Ron Paul distinguishes himself from the rest of the candidates because he fully understands this reality. It is the depth of Dr. Paul's insights that has guided his voting in Congress, and Ron Paul has earned the nickname of Dr. No for his willingness to vote all alone against bills that assume authorities not granted to the federal government in the U.S. Constitution. Ron Paul got into politics in the early 1970s because he believed in the early 1970s when they delinked our currency from the gold standard that would usher in an era of big government and big spending. Ron Paul was right. Since that time, he has been advocating for limited government and financial sanity. In 1976, Paul was one of 4 congressmen who stood up and endorsed Ronald Reagan, another staunch conservative firebrand, while the establishment Republicans were supporting Gerald Ford. In 2002, 5 years before the housing collapse, Ron Paul introduced legislation to avert it. He predicted the housing bubble to a T. He also predicted the dot-com bubble. He also predicted the collapse of 2008 because he understands the mechanisms which cause it. No other candidate has had this foresight into the economic consequences of our government's actions. And that is what has led him to never vote for a tax increase, never vote for an unbalanced budget, and he has opposed every bailout every time. And this is why he is named the taxpayer's best friend by the American Taxpayers Association. Now, I could sit here all day long raving on and on about Paul's record, but unfortunately time, and you guys probably don't want me to. But it would be an injustice if I didn't mention one last issue, and that is Dr. Paul's belief in life. Dr. Paul understands that in order to protect liberty, you must first protect life. Dr. Paul takes a staunch pro-life stance and believes in the repeal of Roe versus Wade. His chosen profession is bringing new life into this world, and he has delivered over 4,000 babies and has 5 children and 17 grandchildren of his own. In closing, I would like to point out that Ron Paul does not take these stances because of political convenience or special interest pressures. He has stood strong on these issues because he knows that this is what is best for the American people. You see, it isn't about electing some all-powerful, all-knowing leader with perfect hair and a strong jawline. It is not a person that we need, it's the rule of law. It's the Constitution. And Dr. Paul stands with the Constitution every time. And now I encourage you to stand with Dr. Paul and stand with the Constitution. Please vote Ron Paul, and thank you very much.